motivation. This one is going to be sort of continuing with where I am in my playing and sort of what I'm going to be doing this week. But I think what I'm doing this week is highly relevant to what you could be doing this week. So, what I'm talking about is last week I recorded and submitted for the International Clarinet Association's orchestral audition competition, which is a competition that takes place at the international sort of clarinet conference, Clarinet Fest, which is happening in Denver, which is pretty close to me this summer. So I thought it would be a good time to try out for one of the competitions, and hopefully I'll get to go compete at the conference. The way it works is on April 1st, a sort of preliminary recording was due. And from that, they're going to pick finalists who will compete at the conference in July. So that's sort of where I'm at right now and what I did last week. So I recorded that. I worked a bunch on getting those excerpts sounding really good, and worked hard on recording them and getting it all submitted last week. Now I want to talk about what I'm going to be doing this week, because I think we're all pretty familiar and comfortable with that process of preparing for a performance. I think that's something that we do really well as players, and is really natural to us. Is, okay, I have a performance, a recording, a competition, an audition, whatever it is coming up, and you sort of get yourself organized, you learn the music for it, you get it prepared so it can go as well as possible, and then you do it. But then what happens after that? Well, you could just jump right into the next project, and sometimes that's necessary when you have a very busy performance life where you're going from concert to concert to concert and having to get everything prepared and ready to go. But it's sometimes a little bit harder when you don't have all of that stuff going on. And I personally really experienced this in 2019 and 2020. I think everybody experienced this in 2020, but it was a particularly unfortunate timing to the pandemic for me, because I graduated with my master's in 2019, where I was performing all the time, at least one concert a month to be preparing for and working towards. Sometimes it was a different concert every week. So there was just so much to be working on and preparing for. In the spring of 2019, I graduated and had a few gigs and a few different things here and there, but it drastically dropped off. And then the pandemic happened in 2020, and every performance opportunity was just gone. There was no performance happening. So I had to figure out what to do from there. And that's what I'm doing this week. And from the title of this, you can probably tell it's all about getting back to the fundamentals. And I think after a big performance, whether it's solo and ensemble or competition or recording or whatever it is, when you've been sort of working on something, you're so focused on the music and getting the music up to tempo, or getting the style, the notes, the rhythms, all that stuff the way that you want. But I think a great thing to do after that performance is done is get back to the fundamentals, and more specifically, get back to the fundamentals of what was holding you back in the performance. So take a look at how you performed, how you prepared leading up to the performance, and see where your sort of roadblocks were or your sticking points. Was it practice time and organizing your practice? Was it articulation, sound quality? Were your reeds all bad and you need to get better at breaking in and rotating reeds? Was it finger technique that wasn't able to keep up? Or maybe particularly arpeggios were challenging? Whatever it may be, is find what in that performance was holding you back. What fundamental, if you were able to do that better next time, would make the next time go a lot better in your performance? So for me, after submitting those recordings, I think I have some note start issues, which is something that I've always struggled with, but just working on finding the sound that I want and finding the starts to the notes to be exactly the way that I want. I sort of can get the sound that I want if I really have a strong start, but I need to figure out how to also get a clear, centered, immediate sound without hammering the starts of the notes. So that's something I'm going to be focusing on. Somewhat related to that is reads. I think on my good reads, I have much more control over the note starts. So I need to make sure that I'm always, especially performing on good reads. Another thing that I'm going to be working on, here I wrote it down in my template, which we'll talk about in a minute, of course. Yeah, just relaxing a little bit, not pushing so much, letting the sound happen, being sort of one with the clarinet and my reeds, and being just sort of in the moment creating the sound and sort of managing the sound rather than like controlling and forcing and pushing the sound. It's still work and I need to be engaged, but I need it to be working with the clarinet rather than just working hard to work hard. And then my last one is to practice everything at 100%. I had this huge realization, which I'm probably going to make a longer video about at some point, where I was practicing something and I was practicing at about 80% comfort and like was going close to tempo, and I was like, I'm like almost at tempo. It's pretty good. It's like 80% clean at tempo right now where I'm practicing. And then it dawned on me that I talked in last Saturday's video and the performance anxiety video about sort of the gap between expectations and where you perform, where you practice and where you perform. And it dawned on me that when I perform, I have that gap, and where I land in my performances is usually right around 80% of my peak. And the light bulb just went off that, well, no wonder why my performances are about 80% if most of the time when I'm practicing where I'm at about 80% comfort. That 80% comfort that I'm finding in practice is yielding about 80% consistency in performance. And it was just light bulb. So that's the other thing, is going 100% on my practice. So I want all of you to maybe think about that. And maybe right now you're in the midst of preparing for a big performance and working on that, and that's coming up. But I know this is a good time of the year where solo and ensemble may have just wrapped up. A lot of the sort of spring or late winter or early spring band concerts are wrapping up, so this might be a good opportunity for you to reflect on what fundamentals could be better and then start going after those fundamentals. And that's where you can fill out your template, quickstartclarinet.com/get started if you want this exact template, or of course you can recreate it on your own in your practice journal or whatever you have. Very simple: the date for the week, the reflection on how things are going. That's where I wrote down sort of from my performance and recording of last week, these are the things that I need to work on and my next fundamentals. And then a goal that's actually putting those fundamentals into action. And then always, I think the most important part is that scheduling of it, of when are you actually going to practice? What are you actually going to do? And again, you can do just 2 days a week, 3 times a week is great for improving. Of course, you can do more than that. Practicing every day is also very good. But having some plan of like exactly where you're going to be and what you're going to be doing is very, very important and very helpful to know what you need to be exploring next. So that's my challenge for you, is go fill out your template. If you're working towards a performance, it's probably really clear, but if you've just come away from a performance, maybe consider some of those fundamentals that you can get back to and start diving into, whether it be articulation exercises, different practice processes, whatever fundamentals that you think will help the next time you have a performance, so you can sort of keep taking steps towards your eventual end goal of whatever your eventual end goal is. So thanks so much for watching. Fill out the template, go do that right now, and I will see you next week on the next live Monday Music Motivation. Happy practicing, have a great week. I'll see you next